is taking over. Welcome back, friends. We have a super cool guest today. Let's welcome Jessica Sutton, who plays our beloved golden retriever Tally Craven on Motherland, Fort Salem. Thanks for hanging out with us today and being our first big gay energy interview.
Yes, thank you.
Honored. Thank you for having me.
Welcome
Back to you, Kaitlynn. Sorry, it's me on CNN. Back to you, Kaitlynn.
And with the weather.
It's Kaitlyn's podcast now.
Oh no. This is going to go great. All right. Bree, take it over.
All right. That's the end of Kaitlyn's podcast. All right. Yeah. Well, first and foremost, thank you for bringing us Tally. Tally is one of the most wonderful characters ever, and she's so much fun on Motherland. So thank you so much. Tally has come. Oh yeah, but Tally has come such a long way since like the pilot to like where we kind of end things. Do you still see her as a walking exclamation point, or like has she changed over the course of the show?
She's still an exclamation mark, but I do feel like she has matured, and I did feel like in season 2 we went from an exclamation mark to a question mark to then back to an exclamation mark to a question mark to an ellipsis, like ... Like season 3 kind of feels like a ... right? Like let us begin.
Yeah. So, as a writer, the fact that you just use punctuation to answer your question.
Was that beautiful?
Chef's kiss.
We're moved.
Like I have to say she is a symbol for me. So it helps sometimes. I don't know the way my creativity works, but I always find it helps to be very visual over just being like cerebral. Sometimes I kind of always find to try and ground my characters in some kind of poetic way. That's often. I mean, I just used what Elliot had given me, which is like the coolest character description ever. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, like what a cool way to describe somebody, a living exclamation mark. And then I thought, well, I know something about that. Wait a second. And it's been a roller coaster. She's been such a gift of a character from a transformational point. Like we were just talking about the Ep 8, season 3, I switched possession to season 1's Biddy transformation. I've gotten to step into many skins while playing her, which is so cool and such a privilege for an actor, especially in the format of film, because you would expect more of that to be in a theatrical environment. It was just such a delicious challenge. And she scared me, which is the best kind of thing for me. I know when I'm about to stretch myself as a performer, when I'm about to step up to the plate and figure it out, figure my way in. And that was Tally for me. So the exclamation mark was just a great like an anchor into understanding firstly what Elliot wanted for the character, and secondly it was just kind of like my lighthouse point for her, because I think that was her inherent soul. So I say, like, yes, we changed, but also it was always there, and it remains to be her core. And that's enthusiasm. Like, what an underrated characteristic. And I know that touched a soft spot in me, because as a kid, I was always kind of like discouraged not to be too much. And here was a character who just embodied all her light and energy. And she was just going to be stoked no matter what. Like, no one could take that away from her, and she was certainly not going to apologize for it and not feel like she had to like dampen it. And I love that.
Yeah,
I really love that.
Yourself. It's beautiful.
And like even
Yes.
Abigail, even the characters of Abigail and Ray, who are so much more refined, restrained, muted, guarded. And especially in season 1, they both have like, Abigail's got something to prove, and Rael's like, I'm gonna freaking blow up this whole thing. You've got this kind of immovable object, unstoppable force, and then you've got Tally in the middle. He's just like shiny.
Literally, that's the
and it's such a she's that is so cool. I'm currently rocking my Tolda t-shirt in
Nice.
Woo, nice.
I had a choice. I had either the Motherland t-shirt, or I had Sarah's Defense Force, Alder's Defense Force. Gotta defend my wife. And sorry, I lost my train of thought, but is it shiny? I always found that quite endearing. One of the things that Elliot and I spoke about after I got the role, because I just couldn't believe that I had been picked. Someone at the bottom of the world, randomly plucked. It felt like I was plucked from underneath a rock in Cape Town.
Did you see your auditions? Your auditions are amazing.
I have, but you gotta understand. Like, I was shooting that in my friend's garage with a camping light. It was very exposed. Like, it was none of this beautiful. Like, the backdrop was wrong. Not that there's a right and a wrong, I guess, but it was very much a scrappy tape, and I was auditioning for my managers to try and get them to represent me. I wasn't even thinking that this was an actual character for an actual show. So there was that happening at the same time.
Oh, wow.
And my friend Richard Lothian, he's a most amazing casting director. He was just starting out as a casting director, and I'd known him as such a formidable actor, and he was so sick. And it was pouring with rain, and I remember him driving out and coming to do this tape. And I don't think it would have been what it is now without him. It really is about who you're acting opposite that brings out your performance. So thank you, Richard. If you're listening to this, we love you.
There you go.
But Elliot told me, he said it was the beat for him. The beat where I went in Tally's monologue talking about the matrifocal and there's no boys ever. And I say ever twice. And he'd said that everyone else had kind of played that out, like as a joke, like ever, which makes total sense, because if you've got two people standing in front of you, why would you have a private moment in front of them? But that's me. That's how I am in life. I can go like a mile a minute, and then I just like kind of check in with myself, like, what did I just say? And it landed the funny in a different way that he found really endearing, and he was like, that's what I want for Tally. I want you to be very serious and very purposeful about everything. Like, nothing of what you're saying is intended to be funny. And I'm like, okay, good. That's how I approached her. I'm glad we're on the same page. So yeah, it was just an alignment, and I've come to see my enthusiasm as a superpower, and I intend not to dim that light. Thanks to Tally Craven.
Good.
Tally's the best.
Tally is the best.
It's a super important
I'm biased.
thing to remember.
I'm biased, so everything
The
that I
most
say,
biased.
I'm going to be like, I love her.
That's how every podcast of ours goes. They all talk, and I'm just like, I love Tally.
Yeah, that's literally how it goes. We're like dissecting the episode, and then all of a sudden Kaitlynn's like, I love Tally.
Sorry, I just love her.
And we love her for...
What's not to like,
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard. It's I think it's it's hard to not love somebody who can just be so stubbornly delightful and open. You know, but at the same time, you do have this feeling of like, protect the baby, you know, because you have this sense of trust, like incorruptible trust. Like the baby is gonna be out there in the world trying to, you know, reach out for things, and you're like, oh yeah, that's hot, and you're just watching them learn. It can be quite painful to watch, and I think that's what was so amazing, to play off the characters of Sarah Alder and Victor Batan as mentors, because she needed people who had maybe been like what she had been, you know, like I definitely feel like Alder saw herself in Tally, Nictor saw herself in Tally. There's something quite interesting there. And Tally's openness is so disarming. So in the scenes with just the two of them, whether it's Alder or Tally or Nictor or Tally, you're able to see a different side to Nictor, able to see a different side to Sarah, and you're questioning why they would reveal. And I think it's a lot to do with the mirror. Like if you're seeing a younger, more innocent version of yourself that's not so jaded and hurt, you're reminding yourself of, oh, you know, I gotta warn this person. And I love that contrast, because Tally is just like, okay, I can't. You also aren't not me, you know. I'm gonna live my truth, and I'm gonna ask you the hard questions, and you're gonna tell me, you know, not to pry and not to look, and but I see you, and I can't look away. And I feel like Tally in some ways is also looking at an older version of herself, and she's going, in her empathy, she can really stand on like the threshold of understanding somebody and go, I want to understand you. And in order to do that, she drops all judgment of what, and I think a lot of people wouldn't. They would get hung up on the judgment of, well, you've crossed a line, and I cannot actually have this conversation with you. You're a traitor, you're spree, you're whatever, you know, you're playing for the other team. Tally's just like, you're a human being. I'm a human being. We're on the same team. Like, she doesn't understand how not to. Yeah, she just walks into the rooms without asking for permission, because
she meets
she's already
them on a human level instead of the preconceived notions.
Exactly. And I think that's such a radical thing to think, like, to really think about in terms of how I live my life as well. It's like, it's very interesting how we play off of teams, and like, it's me versus you, and it's the other. I think that the show implicitly and explicitly has a conversation with the audience about that.
Yes.
You know, our worlds are different, but they're not that different. They're not that different. We're having some really deep conversations. And I always love that Tally just doesn't know any other team but the humankind. And that's beautiful, because yeah, she was able to step into conversations around mentorship, for example, where she's teachable as well, which is so beautiful. And not every character that you get on, you know, on page is that, which is fine, because it's beautiful. You're gonna watch someone like Abigail go through a very different character development to somebody like Tally. But yeah, I loved how teachable she was, and she just leans into what she doesn't know, and she wants to keep asking those questions.
Not only that, I feel like Tally, and this is one of the questions, we always say this, we feel like Tally could have chemistry with a brick wall. Like, she has chemistry with everyone and everything. So.
It's I would say, I mean, as an actor, I prepare I mean, a lot of actors, so I like talking about my process, but I'm also very mindful that when I'm not speaking to actors, it's probably the most boring thing to listen to. But I will say
we
this.
love everything.
For me, the hardest part of is something that I have to have at the forefront of my mind is to connect. It's to get out of to leave all the preparation that I've done at the door and to see the other human being that's in front of me and just to trust the moment. That connection is everything. That is the performance. I don't know what else you're doing if you're not connected to the person that you're in the scene with. And it's really interesting because I've watched a lot of my old work and past self-tapes and constantly learning something by watching those. And what's apparent, and I think what has been the 4 years of education of being a part of the show has been able to watch actors of such caliber, and whether it's Lynn, whether it's Demetria, whether it's Kat, Emily, they're all so connected. Like, that was just, you cannot take your eyes off of them because they're 100% interested in what is happening in front of them, and there's no part of their energy that's going back in. And that's been such a privilege to watch. I know that's made me better for it because I was able to just then play a tennis game with the masters and practice my serving. So yeah, that from an actor's point, that was something that I really worked on was that. And then also realizing who Tali was is this, I think part of enthusiasm and a part of where her energy is that she's like 100% out all the time. She's finding everything else more interesting than what's going on with her. So she's like a dog like that, or a baby. She just is like looking out at the world and she just wants to figure it out. And it's all just so fascinating. So I really... yeah, I worked on that. And again, that empathy, right? Meeting everyone at the door, whether it's an animal, whether it's a human being. I think she really just respects an entity. And look, when you've dropped judgment and you're totally engaged with somebody and you make them believe, like, the feeling is like they're all that exists in Tali's world. And she has that superpower of making somebody feel totally seen. And I think all she's also wanting is to be seen. And so when a character sees her and she's seeing them, I think that's what you're picking up in terms of chemistry. You're like, whoa, what's happening there? Because you got two people standing naked in front of each other. In a poetic sense,
apt way to put it.
Totally. Yeah.
That made me think of a different question in my head, but we won't.
Go on. I ain't scared of anything. I'm just like scared. I'm finally able to say all the things and talk about all the things, and it's so great.
She's free.
It's so lovely. I'm free.
We're already cutting out so many questions, but it came into my head and I really need to ask it. So
go for it.
So what made you always want to take off clothes when in a scene with Alder?
In the season. Okay, so I will say
this is why we write the questions beforehand so they can filter me.
This is also interesting because I don't know if it's gonna, this isn't gonna satisfy what I would. It's a very technical thing. We were shooting a lot of our scenes. So remind me again, because all I have is David Fizie's episode in 8.
There's
just before we go out.
The dancing one as well.
Oh yes. Oh, and then Gems, F3. Okay, so I want you to imagine you're being dressed in thermal winter gear and you're on a stage, or you're in a very hot bar. And it just purely came down to me being very hot. Like I was face sweating, and I'm going, if I have to ask makeup to come over one more time and like blot me, I just said I asked David, I didn't ask Jem's permission, but it made sense. I was in this like thermal, and then I had like a cardigan over, right, in the scene with Lynn and Ep 8. And I was just like, I need to take this, I need to take it off. And I feel like it worked in the scene because it served for me to kind of go back to the chest of drawers, and get a little bit of space between Lynn. I was playing into more of the frazzled and exasperated side of Tally, letting her frustration be seen. Where I know Lynn wanted to previously play it very still. She wanted to have us very close together. And I mean, she's in my bedroom and she's asking, she's saying she's come for me. Yeah, but the way that we workshopped the scene, it just organically just led into that. So that's why I took off my shirt. I was really, really freaking hot.
I mean, that is a good reason.
And then with Jem, I mean, I'm in this rust jacket, right, with the horse jumper underneath, and another polo neck, and now we're going into a dance sequence, and I'm just going like, okay, I'm shedding this. But what was so apparent about the spell that Elaine, the song that she casts over us, is that it's supposed to seduce us, right? So I played into the scene of going, okay, I'm stripping my clothes off, like this is happening. And that was improv. Makes perfect sense. That was improv. That was first team rehearsal, and Jem's like, "Love it. Let's do it."
Good job.
I wish I kind of had stripped that horse jumper too, but it lasts. It's fine.
We've heard a lot about the horse jumpers. So.
Oh my
Tracy
gosh.
about the horse jumper.
You did? Okay, because she was like, I know you said sophisticated, but this is your color and it's so cute. It's still Tally. We need the shiny Tally. So I was like, okay, fine. Didn't think I'd be wearing it for 4 episodes, but hey. Like, Scylla got a new wardrobe, like freaking every episode. I was looking at Amalia going, I want to change. Why isn't my character changing?
Can I have a leather jacket too?
Yeah, right? I almost did, but yeah. Scylla's character is, she's got the stakes on the leather jacket and the cute crops.
That's true.
The cute crops.
Well, they had to make her as gay as possible this season.
I got the jumpsuit, which I was not crying about. I was just like, I'm gonna be purchasing this jacket. This jumpsuit, and I'm gonna be taking that and this and this. I'm very happy. I'm a proud owner of one of Scylla's. Actually, no, 2 of her belts and her boots, like beautiful, proper leather boots. I feel like a total rock star in them. Just accessing my necro.
Heck yeah.
Tally's dark side,
Tally's
oh my
dark
god,
side.
I would love to see that now.
But I want to say, so both Ep 8 and Ep 3, Jem's episodes, and I was doing a pickup with David for Ep 8, I believe. Maybe I'm confusing it. Was it 7? I can't remember. It must have been 7. Because I know David was directing for that scene between Lynn and I. But I know Ep 3, Ep 8 was with Jem, and there was so much humor in both of those episodes between Lynn and I. There was a line that was cut out, unfortunately, where I lean over and I ask her to dance, which was part of the stripping and the swiveling and the whole seduction. And there was other lines in Ep 8 where, oh man, what was the line? Lynn and I were just talking about it. We're like, no, they cut it.
We got to talk to Lynn at some point.
Oh man, I can't believe it. She just reminded me now. Something about an ice. Oh, that's it. She's like, we're staring at this ice wall that we have to now like wind strike. But like if we wind strike it, the cave might collapse. And so she like cheekily looks at me and she's like, "What? You didn't bring your ice pick?" And I'm like, "Stop it! Stop! Stop!" Literally, I'm just like, "Be serious! This is not." And it was such a genuine, great moment, and I just it was so good. It was so great. So we were sad to see those moments not make it into the final cut, and we still want to know why. Jem, tell us why.
I think a lot of people would ask that question.
But it might not be the director. It might also be the studio. There's 100 decisions that we're not privy to, and so that's also what like is so exciting, but also like nerve-wracking to be in the audience seat after being so enmeshed in the process of making something. And then having to just surrender, and it being a product now that really doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to everyone else. So it's always, and this is also what I find, it's for me such a rewarding thing to have the live tweets and these chats afterwards to really process everything and to see like what how did Hemingway say? Was it Hemingway? Somebody said you've got the script that is written, got the thing that is filmed, you've got the show that is edited, and then you've got the show that is watched, and it's like 4 different skins and evolution that happen. So yeah, it's just really interesting what it becomes. You never know until you're sharing it with somebody and you're listening to the reactions and you're having a reaction to it that's totally outside of the actor watching and curating their own work. You're really just being immersed in the story, which is, I think it speaks for itself. I think that's what makes this show unlike anything I've worked on before, because I can watch it as an audience member.
That's awesome.
Yes.
We're gonna jump a lot further down.
Jump.
We're going to go to what Theora has called now Kaitlynn's Research Corner, where we see how accurate the internet is. And I have been waiting to ask you this question for so long. Okay.
Go for it.
I found something from quite a while ago.
Yes.
And I see that you were credited on a short article that studied Egyptian geese.
Yes.
So can you tell us about that?
It was my thesis. Well, it wasn't a thesis. It was a biology paper that I had to write on Egyptian geese. And I met this guy who had spent basically most of his life studying them. And my parents live on a wine estate, but also a golf course, and there was a infestation, I use that word, of Egyptian geese that had become a problem. And the residents were kind of like, do we cull them? Like, what do we do? And it was just fascinating to like team up with a scientist researcher who knew so much about why the environment of a golf course is so perfect for them, their breeding grounds. So, this was just nature doing its thing. And there's a lack of predators on golf courses, but in South Africa we have cats like caracals, wild cats, and we started to see them. Or at least I know that there was a family with some babies as well, baby caracals that were hunting the geese and the guinea fowl and the hardy doves, which are all birds in South Africa. So yeah, that was why my name was attached, because I worked with somebody who could give my paper actual credit, and then he was like, we could get this published. Would you be okay with that? And I'm like, yeah, sure. This is for high school. I'm not thinking beyond anything, but I love that. That is so random, Kaitlynn. I love it. I haven't, and I can't even remember his name. Like, I'm shocked. I have not thought about that.
She'll pull it up for you.
I've
read the article.
I still have that paper as well. I still have it. I still kept it. I did.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's been such a thing among all three of us to like just kind of like joke about it, and then I made like an edit, and it's now like the background of our WhatsApp chat of an Egyptian goose.
His name is Rob and Little.
Rob. Thanks, Rob. It was a really stressful time in my life, high school, just school in general, and having really generous people like him. I also worked with somebody who knew a lot about meerkats and African elephants. Yeah, school. But I did love that my mom, thanks to my brilliant mother, was always encouraging me to like reach out to the people who had actually spent substantial time researching and see if any of them got back to me. So yeah.
Well, I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was really random that I found that.
Yeah, it was cool though. But since
I've forgotten a lot about the Egyptian geese. A lot. I would say, oh yeah, I know tons of interesting facts, and I've just forgotten all outside of the fact that a golf course, if you've got ponds and beautiful green grasses, that is ideal for the Egyptian geese.
So if you want an Egyptian geese at home, just get a nice
now you
golf
know
course
how to
and some
get.
ponds.
Now you know what the
it.
perfect place to keep them is. Yeah. All right, so we kind of want to go to this really quick and touch on it. You're an ambassador for the SmilingOne Foundation and launched the Smiles for Change fundraiser a few weeks ago. Can you tell us a little more about the charity and what the goal is for the money that's raised?
Of course. So this is a organization, non-profit organization, South African based, founded by my friend and facilitator, Karina Anderson. And I met Karina back in, I want to say 2009, because her son and my brother are best friends. And I remember meeting Karina first time she came over to collect Dan, I think. And I just remember this woman walking barefoot, Danish accent, and the silver waterfall hair, and thinking, I just couldn't take my eyes off of her. She had such a presence, and I think that's very much integrated into what she brings when she facilitates, is this power of presence, and that feeling that she is totally seeing you again, like a Tally superpower, right? But I had not known what her organization did until I started paying her as my private facilitator. Very interested in her Awakened Leadership program and the Responsible Individual program, which focuses on really reaching and rising the leader in you and the responsible individual in you and what that looks like. And she has an in-depth way of guiding you through this. It's hard to go into any further detail outside of that, but I was working with her for 4 years, just on me. And she changed my life, and she helped facilitate how I could facilitate myself in my life, because I know that there's going to be storms, and how to not only ask for help from people who are like lighthouses, but ultimately we're all captaining our own ship. So this is why I don't call her my therapist or life coach, because that really doesn't do justice to what she does. She is a lighthouse. She is somebody who illuminates. And when you're feeling respected, like this person isn't going to come and try and captain your ship for you, you get a sense of being given the tools in order to facilitate yourself. And I think that's has started to be one of the biggest things that I look for when I look for a mentor or somebody to help, is that their help doesn't come with strings attached. It's not like a dependency relationship. It's not like you're going to need me. It's more like they're sharing the tools so that you can go ahead and lead from a self-sufficient place. And it's all about really delving into your own competency and courage. But you are needing facilitation to have conversations. Sometimes we lack perspective in our lives. We can't see the thing because we're too up close on the glass and we're breathing, and we haven't earned it yet. We haven't earned the distance, and that's okay. But to realize that there are different seasons, and I felt like I needed facilitation and how to cross thresholds, and how to also create my own rituals around beginnings and endings, and how to recognize in me what was evolving and changing. I would go through feelings of quite a lot of distress and despair, not knowing how to. I knew that I was going to change, and it felt invisible. I was trying to point to my friends. I'm like, so I'm feeling like I'm going through this like really crazy shift, but do you guys feel it? And I didn't have the vocab to talk about it, and that's also something that Karina gives you, is this beautiful vocabulary that really assists with self-expression. And I go back to going, just because we can think doesn't mean that we know how to think. Just because we can speak doesn't mean that we know how to articulate ourselves, or to how to self-express. And it's so empowering when you lean into Karina's work. So that's just on a personal note. It took me about all of 3 years to start. My curiosity, like Tally's, just couldn't help it. I just couldn't help but want to know more about how she applies, what she was giving me in private facilitation into her group facilitation. And so she started inviting me to the prisons and into the classrooms, where she really does all of her seminal work. And I didn't know how it could be more impactful, but it was, because I was just a spectator in a lot of ways. I had just the privilege to sit in. Sometimes I would contribute, but most of the time I was so absorbed in what I was hearing, and I was just really deeply listening. And you learn in a very different way when you're just there to listen and not to participate. And I pretty much left the first session that I was able to sit in on going, how can I help? How can I be of any kind of service to your work? And it became apparent to me that what she does is needed in this world. And it's seeing individuals who've come from high-risk communities within South Africa, who've had no resources, no support. No one sees them. No one believes in them. No one wants to meet them. No one wants to hold conversation with them.
I love how passionate you are about this.
Sorry, it hits differently because, okay, two things. First is it personally in me, having come from a place of privilege, right? Having come from a place where I have parents who've supported me and a beautiful family, and I've had an education, and I've had the resources that these individuals have not had. However, the little Jess, kind of the Jess that sought out Karina to really, you go into a reparenting of yourself, and I love that word. I can't remember who used that word first. I think it was maybe Gloria Steinem in her book. I think it's The Revolution Within. Brilliant book.
Yes.
But basically, yeah, how we spend our lives reparenting ourselves, maturing ourselves. And when I was, I think what made me want to act, what made me want to be a storyteller, was this feeling of, I remember the first time of being seen. And I think the wound in me was often I wasn't being seen, or I wasn't being understood. And it created a lot of distress in me from an early age of wanting to just be seen and to express myself. And my dyslexia played a lot in the frustration of not being able to reach others, like see me. So seeing these individuals being seen for the first time by Karina, who has spent her life really, what she does, that facilitation, how she can see anyone, dropped of judgment, doesn't matter what these inmates have done, doesn't matter how lost these youths are, she sits with them, like anyone, doesn't matter who you are, and I was so moved by that, because you can't underestimate how powerful and how radical it is to see somebody. And when you get seen for the first time, it injects you with this taste of like purpose and meaning. And you're like, oh my gosh, is that me? Like, could I? It's just very, words it's hard to explain, but that was on one level very moving for me, because if I had to take out what acting has meant to me, or all of those teachers who had such a profound impact on me, was that feeling of being seen, I would not be who I am and where I am today. So you start realizing how powerful just that encounter is. It can change somebody's life, and you're giving that to them. And then second, and it has a lot to do with South Africa being my home and my motherland, and it's such a beautiful country, such beautiful people, but there's so much need. And to come from a place, one of the cities reach top 20 most violent, most dangerous places in the world, you start I want to understand how to help that. I don't want to look away and just be like, oh, that's just a statistic, and I guess that's just what it has to be. And you know, as a woman coming to Vancouver for the first time in my life, I was 25, and I had the opportunity to come and study with Matthew Harrison at the Actors Foundry for free, which was huge. You know, speak about another mentor who saw me at that moment of time and reached a hand out, and I took that hand, and it showed me a whole different ceiling and way of life. But the most profound thing that hit me in my first days in Vancouver was how safe I felt. And I actually did not know what that, I was walking around in this, like in a fugue state going, what is this feeling that I'm feeling? Because I just wanted to cry all the time. It became apparent to me that I had not had the privilege of walking as a woman by myself in all my 25 years of life up until that point. Safety as a right. Just feeling really safe in the environment that you're in has a huge impact on how you live and how you create as well, your creativity, you know. I took that home with me, wanting to hold on to that feeling and go into understanding how why South Africa is why it's in this space where crime has become this exponential, and if there was any help that can be given, what is that help? And Karina is that help. In my mind, what she is doing on an individual level is so hectic and so transformative. She's giving people a mirror to themselves and going, you have value. You can have a positive impact. It doesn't matter what odds are stacked against you or where you can come from. Your story doesn't define you, but we can acknowledge that story, and I can see your story, and I can honor the path that you're walking. And yeah. So she then made me an ambassador, which I didn't know how to even accept, because I was like, how can I take this badge of honor? But she's like, this is how you can help, by wearing this badge. And then I started to, I mean, like very much like Karina, we share the common feeling of taking our purpose really seriously. Like when we want to be of service, it's all or nothing. So I said to her, I'm going to find a way to actively use my platform in some way to help. And I hadn't really engaged with social media much outside of just advertising, like a website, you know, my work. And it felt really empowering to finally own something deep, private, and meaningful to me, which has been my relationship with Karina and her work that she does. And to talk about it and to use my platform in a really different way has been, really, really profound. It's filled me with something different than I ever thought it would. And in this whole entire fundraiser, my gosh, I mean, that also has come via such an extraordinary, like, destiny into like something, I don't know, synchrodestiny, because the right people at the right time found me. They were part of the fandom, but they really just were offering their services as like we have, you know, we were moved by this organization, and what do you think about doing a fundraiser? And I'm just like, okay. I mean, you know, getting a small team together, people who have full-time jobs and just going to spend their time plugging away for free. It's been something that the generosity of spirit, I think Karina and I cannot talk about it enough. How powerful it's been to then have the embrace of the fandom whether it is just artists participating and contributing what they can, whether it's $1, like every bit has made this fundraiser so successful. I mean, in the first 24 hours, we had raised $2,000, and then just shy of our first week, we had already reached 8. So it was like
unexpected.
I love that. I'm trying to like
so,
not have a full-on breakdown right now.
Yeah,
Oh,
like you
Kaitlynn.
crying made me and Kaitlynn cry, so but for good reasons.
It's because growing up, I had to rely on so much.
Friends.
Sorry, I've done so much crying on this podcast.
It's great. This is great.
It's called catharsis.
Yes.
Anyway, gosh, no, someone else do the story and I'll add at the end.
Okay.
Do the what? The story.
You just do Kaitlyn's
Okay.
part, yeah.
Story.
So
Aw.
we're about to launch our merch store for the podcast, and we would like to donate our first month's
What?
to the charity.
And also, on top of that, we are donating
Yeah.
$250. It's not like an outrageous
What are
amount,
you
but
talking about? That is so amazing.
I just...
This is what I'm talking about. Like, I am not even...
I'm just really glad that you're advocating for us. I'm so sorry, I can't get any words out.
That's okay, Kaitlynn.
You
can.
You're beautiful. I just I'm so grateful. I have come to understand that line in our show where we say we are stronger together in a far more deeper way. Like I mean it makes for a really cute bumper sticker, right? A lot of what I used to think about social media, about it being just like bumper stickers, like you aligning yourself with like charities and movements and groups, and I'm just like, yeah, but how do you have a conversation on these platforms? Like, how do you ever really have like a in-depth conversation? Because in my opinion, you're really breaking ground with somebody when it's just like this, like a one-on-one, and you're breathing together, right? You're in real time and you're breathing together. Text has no tone, and hashtags are for me just bumper stickers. I'm just like, they're like flashing. I'm like, okay, cool, but you know, what do you know about this movement? How active are you? And like, how much skin in the game do you have? Like, conversation it's really the meat and potatoes of the whole thing. And I think I got a taste for like the negative side of social media, where you just have people screaming in an echo chamber and no one's really listening and there's no conversation. It's just like a stampede of like
Words.
of like
Emotions.
virtue signaling, and like it gets really loud in there, and I was so put off by that, and I'm like, okay, well, clearly this is just not for me. But, and this is a huge but, this fundraiser and this show together have totally re-inspired me to look at it in a very different way. And you can use platforms to connect, and it can be intentional, and it can be incredibly unity, because you're not being able to do it together. And like you just said, right, you know, Kaitlynn, you just like, meet my family. I'm meeting Theo and Bree and you, and you've personally told me how just finding these people and what they've meant to you, they've like totally saved your life and changed you, right? And like, what price could you ever put on that? And you found them online. Okay. Yep. So I'm never ever gonna be like, yeah, online is just like freaking seedy and like stay away from that, because it's really about how you use it and how you see it. And if there's one thing, that intentional thread has been what this show is anchored in, not only me and my co-stars, or the incredible artists that I got to work with, everyone from Amanda Tapping, just incredible artists who are like, we love what the story is, we love everything that it's saying and the conversations it's going to spark and the catalyst that it's become. And we talk about the community, but the audience is the reason why the show had a shelf life to begin with, and had so much to do with the fact that you guys found each other. Like, I was speaking to another artist in our fan community, and they were saying they'd stopped creating, and when they found the show, and then they found the community of artists, and how they were then reawakening their love and their courage to create, because they had the support that they had. As an artist, me listening to that, I was like, oh my gosh. So whether it's you finding belonging, like a family, whether it's you finding your creative love again, or your compassion, or a sense of connection, you guys have formed this amazing platform, and now the merch that you've created, and now you're helping my fundraiser, which it's just this beautiful life support system. It's so far and beyond just fans of the show. Like, in a way, talking about a fandom can sound kind of, I don't know. I can't integrate it. It feels like arm's length, because you guys have become like community for us. It's not just fans and actors, It's not that. We're at the round table together. We're all at the table together.
It's been very different than any fandom that I've ever been a part of before in that regard, because there was so much interaction and so much sharing between fans and you guys. So that's been huge, and I think it's come from both sides, but I think it was a case of the right people in the right place at the right time. And
well, that's how the cast and crew felt. When I met Tay, Ash, Amalia, Demetria, Lynn, I was like, I could not believe how the sense of it was like, where have you been all my life? And having women in particular, for me, who were so supportive of each other and so transparent with each other, and there was a real lack of competitiveness and
pettiness or
competitiveness. But I do think woman on woman, like we were I mean, we've shared this so much, but also the symbol of the witch and what it meant is like, women awakening in them their power and stepping into that and feeling like they can be embraced when they're at their best. No jealousy, backstabbing. A lot of my co-stars had terrible relationships with women. In fact, I think we all had really confessed that we had predominantly had more successful male friends than female friends. And we thought that was quite an interesting common ground. And then being enveloped in these conversations, we all kind of fell in love with each other, and we found immense healing. And now my women friends have become like just another huge force in my life, like something that I really had lacked. Because I hadn't really found that embrace of sisterhood, right? and it was really only until that pilot, and then shooting season 1 and then 2 and then 3, that I was being raised with these women who were at different, demarcations in their life. They come from different backgrounds, and yet I was seeing this evolution from within happening to all of them. And that was just mirrored in the conversations that we were courageous enough to have. And it takes a lot of courage to go, I don't know, and I'm figuring it out, and this is where I'm at, and where are you? Where do I find you now? It's so important to be able to have touchstones and people who you can just really talk to. And who can celebrate you. And you can sit with you when the going gets tough, because it's not about making things okay. When you can say, I'm not okay, and you're holding both. You're always holding both. You're okay and you're not okay. But when you're needing that recognition to reach towards another human being, another beating heart, and be like, I'm hurting today, and this is why. And the other person sitting next to you can just sit and hold and facilitate silence, and that be all that's ever needed. It's profound. I think often we have an idea of what help looks like, and that's like putting the other person on our back and carrying them over the line. In Karina's work, I've come to realize that you have no authority there. You cannot save another person's life. It has to start with you saving your own, and knowing how that inherently leads to you being the person who people gravitate towards, and they go, how did you help yourself through the hard times? And they're able to have that introspection and be like, okay, now I can better facilitate myself. So it's a really, Karina always comes back to that verse about, you give a man a rod. No, you give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, but you teach a man to fish and he can feed himself for a lifetime. So that idea of really equipping somebody with the tools, going like, you've got this. You have this. And if you don't, I'm going to sit right here, right next to you, and we can just breathe together. And I can share that moment with you, and you don't have to feel like you're in this alone, because I've been in those woods, and we all go through that moment. And this moment is beautiful. It's human. It doesn't need to be fixed. So,
well, thank you so much for sharing all of that today. We're basically about out of time before your next engagement. So we just wanted to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us and sharing all your passions and feelings about everything. We really appreciated and got a lot out of this today.
So you guys are so beautiful, so generous. I can't thank you enough for your contribution and your collaboration towards the fundraiser. It's so, and that was one of the notes that Karina and I had when we went into this fundraiser, that it's not ours, it's really everyone's, or everyone who wants to be involved. And you have no idea what it's gonna do to so many people and what it's gonna mean. And I think, and then I say I think you do, because I know that you found that feeling in each other. So from me to you, I see you, I honor you, I thank you so much for your time and your questions and your love and your support, and it's been an honor. Thank you.
And thank you. All right, for everybody listening at home, a big thank you to Jessica. If you want to donate to the foundation, we will put information in our description, and we will see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.
Yes, next time, please. Another date.
Yes,
absolutely, because we have so many questions we didn't get to do.
So many.
Well, if you want to, you know what? I don't.
I'm going to stop recording. Okay?
Yeah, stop recording.
Don't stop recording.
Kaitlynn, I want to hug you right now.
Okay, we're recording.
Okay, we're back.
My next engagement is at 12, and I feel so. I mean, yeah, I'm so happy to just keep rolling into. So if you guys have some questions, you ask them, and then I'll.
Now that I'm a mess,
I'll get.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, okay, what we wanted to do is on our podcast we like to do the would you rathers because I don't know, that's like our thing.
Yes.
So let me bring them up and then we can.
Well,
you know what? It got real soft and deep there, and it was so beautiful. When conversations take you, this is it. This is the power of conversation. Takes
really
you
is.
out into the depths, you know, and it doesn't feel safe and it doesn't feel great because you're just vulnerable and you're definitely breaking open. That's how it feels. But there is just so much love and change and significance in going where you need to go, not necessarily where you want to go, and to step out of your comfort zone. And if there's one thing Karina's taught me, is like we have to keep our facilitation of ourselves, the way that we can show compassion, patience, kindness towards others, is exactly limited to how much we can show to ourselves. And in that way, I was just like, wait, what?
Mind blown.
It starts with you.
Yeah, because even if you think like, you know, how many times do you give the advice to your friend, right? Because you can see they're like barreling down the thing and you're like, okay, I know your pattern. Okay, I'm going to try and speak into this, be the insight. But while you're saying this advice, it's like you're saying the advice you're so wishing to actually absorb and take yourself.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's really funny. You're kind of going like, wow. You start kind of feeling a little bit like there's a hypocrisy there. But
absolutely.
It's definitely a human thing, and I do think that we all have our blind spots, and it's really for each other to. The most noble friendship is the friendship that can be honest, but kind. So you kind of got that beautiful equilibrium between being able to say, hey, I'm going to point to something that you might not be aware of, that you might not like me to hear, but this is going to come from such a place of love, and I expect you to do the same for me. You know, you kind of just keep your friendships honest and helpful, like helpful to who you're going to be becoming. And having gone through high school, and I was so confused. I had so many friends who were not like real friends. They were kind of like, they were the crowd that I wanted to be seen with, and then I had a friend who I kind of wanted to be like, and it got really confusing. And this is it. Like in those early 20s, you're really figuring out a lot. So I'm finally at a place where I'm just like, I now know what my checklist is when I'm going, oh, I like with this person. You know, this person can hold silence.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really important. So I know you guys have found that in each other, and it's just beautiful to acknowledge that.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
It's Kaitlynn.
Because
I'm such a crybaby.
No, you're not. Listen, you have big emotions, and big emotions. Yeah, and you're our Tally.
Yeah, basically.
Yes. And when you're feeling like, you know, I think what made me cry back there is that sometimes it just, you pluck a chord, right, and something just vibrates in you, and often it is where we're really accessing the kid in ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I just got teleported back to being the Jess in front of a teacher. And I just felt desperately invisible. I felt desperately invisible. And I think if you've ever felt desperately invisible or desperately alone and lonely, if you've ever had just one excruciating moment, it can be a moment. It doesn't have to be anything bigger than that. And you really go back to that. And then in the context to where you're sitting now, which is whole and held and loved and supported, you're just open. You're just in that beautiful flow.
There'd be nothing right now without these two.
I don't know about that, but I'm always happy to be here for you.
Yeah.
But so we had one we had one poll question that we asked. We've asked. Okay, so the first person we asked this was Taylor, and her reaction was priceless. And then we put it in the poll, and now we're going to ask you: would you rather get the sex talk from Anacostia or Alder?
That was Taylor's reaction too.
That was her reaction too.
Great, I can stop crying.
I would say
there's no right answer.
It's interesting. It's really interesting because I feel. Oh no! I feel like both or neither. Like I don't know. Like I feel ways about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I do find it quite funny though to think about how Tally and Anacostia would how that whole conversation would go. And then also how that conversation with Alder would go down.
That's why I was laughing thinking about this answer, because like this is more stakes with this one.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
Would it lead a demonstration?
Oh my god, that took a little bit to process.
That was amazing. That's
I love you.
Answer.
I love you, Jess.
Yeah.
They would have different approaches, let's say, to that.
Yeah, they would, depending on, So,
in general.
I think we could safely say we know the answer to that one.
Yeah,
but
and it was so interesting when I'd become a biddy, right? And then I started season 2 as a biddy, and like learning what they can pick up. It's like when Alder has sex, you know, they're orgasming. When she hurts themselves, they're injured. They're carrying. That connect, like we are connected. It's very much like merge, right? So of the minds, we already the thing, you know. We it's
and there you go,
merged. Interesting to I mean, this is why it's so beautiful, the world and the characters and I already miss it. I already miss it. Like it's another home that I could go to. Just every season there was more complexity that Elliot added, of where the characters were going to go, but also how they go to awakening our purpose and the greater part. Like it was all just so epic. Sorry, I'm still like, I'm like half crying but laughing.
I totally understand.
Yes, we get you.
Okay, next question. Would I run?
Thea, do you want to take it, or Bree, you want to continue?
Do you want to take
Just
it,
go,
Thea, or do you want me to go on?
Bree.
Okay,
go, you got it.
Would you rather be stuck between Rael and Scylla or Adil and Abigail when they're in an amorous mood? Like, say you're like, I don't know, in a back seat or something, and you're stuck between the couple.
Ray and Scylla. Yeah, I feel like, I mean, again, it's also, yeah, Ray and Scylla. Yeah.
Good answer.
You don't want to be stuck between Dwight and Shelby?
Good.
Yeah.
I don't want to be stuck between Dwight and Shelby.
Hey, now that's a different question, right?
Yeah.
I'm like,
You had to bring up Dwight and Shelby, didn't you?
No. What? Okay, now if it's Dwight and Shelby, then I'll take Dwight and Shelby. But
that would be entertaining, at least.
Uh-oh.
She went bye-bye.
Huh, you're back.
that was a call coming in, and I have no idea what that was. So I'm back on track.
Okay. Would you rather be stuck in the ice cave, aka the Cave of Wonders, is what we've called it, the Talder Cave of Wonders,
Ice cave.
forever with Silver or Hurst?
Hurst. Bob and I could get on very, very well.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
I actually think Tally would probably facilitate him
Mm-hmm.
there.
Yes, good point.
I think Hurst just needs a good influence in his life.
Seriously.
I think there's something that happened with him and his sister that he desperately needs to confess. Like, I feel very like
And his parents.
incest vibes. I got
It's so creepy,
It
and
is
yes,
really,
I got that too.
It was weird.
six little siblings, and I just feel like, it could be facilitated. And if worse comes down to worse, Francisca could always, the ice witch, and as well, we'd be like, we wouldn't be alone. Like there is the ice like witch right there. So I'd be like, hey, babes, do me a favor, freeze this.
Freeze him.
There you go. Just freeze this guy.
That's a good point.
I feel like you'd have to do that with Silver, so you didn't have to talk to him.
Yeah, like immediately. Freeze him.
Well, as AKA the other one, I'm going to give Victor a little kickback. He's the last cause.
There you go.
Unforgivable. No, I mean, yeah, sure. Talk about like biblical sacrificing your kid,
Literally, yes.
Yeah, that broke me.
It's like a Greek myth all over again.
Also, pretending like you didn't go along with it,
or you were forced to.
Like I have a feeling like they're like, okay, so we don't get to see any of Albin's humanity, but then the character doesn't become three-dimensional. So I feel like if it was Albin and I just in an ice cave, there would be a three-dimensional component, outside of his wacky humor, because his humor, there's something delightfully offbeat. Like, even though he's, you just want to write him off as total evil. Again, like, our show also challenges this. Is like, is anyone ever really just written off as just freaking evil? And what does it take to meet them at the threshold of going like, I want to understand you? Mm-hmm. I mean, look where Scylla resurrected herself from. Look at Nictor. I mean, we got really questionable characters who are like the loves of our show, right? And I do think there's something to be said that everyone loves the underdog, because we all can relate. Like, there's something in us that we either want to orphan and like eject and be like, yeah, I can't relate, but you are relating. And I think that's the beautiful part, is that we are everything. And then we have the choice, and we have a choice of what we're going to give to the world and what we're going to be in it. And that's where the power lies. But you always have that choice. And what are you choosing between, the light and the shadow? So yeah, I would say Albin and Ice Cave. I love
it.
Best answer. Would you rather get slapped by President Wade or when struck by Hearst?
Smacked by President Wade, just because, like, just Shirley Ralph.
Yes. She gives you an iconic line.
I watched that, by the way. Every single take, I watched that because it was so good. I mean, it was the best. I'm like, that is the best line in our entire seasons. All of the seasons.
Yeah, agreed.
Check my finger.
So good.
And I think
so good.
it would kind of be an honor to be like bitch slap.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
And I would whip back and I'd be like,
Thank
do
you.
it
Do it again. Thank you, ma'am. May I have another?
more, please. I want more.
I want some more. That's exactly it. Okay. Last one. Would you rather have to be in character as Tally for the rest of your life or only play yourself in roles for the rest of your life?
Bree's brain.
Well, okay, so that's interesting because I do feel like I'm mercurial, like I'm constantly changing. Whoever Jess is, she's always becoming. So I do feel like I would be trapped more playing an idea of a character because she really is. She as much as she's a part of me, she is from somebody else's imagination, and as much as I want to take credit for creating her, I didn't. And so I would feel like there would be a stuckness there as to like how to continue her journey, where Jess, I hold the pen, somebody else pen, Tally, I hold the pen, so I would choose Jess.
That's a great answer.
That's an amazing answer. And that's why my head was like, this would be an interesting question.
And you still have a little bit of Tally, you know?
Great question. Great question.
Bree has such great questions. I love her brain.
Well,
I've been loving all the questions.
Well,
I'm still starting.
We have to have you back again at some point so we can
Yeah.
ask all the questions ever.
Because
you're
we have more. Just skip them
too
all.
super interesting to. Yeah.
For once off, this is going to be like a life. This is like a lifelong conversation.
Yes, it's a lifelong. Listen, because just talking to you has made me feel better today. So.
Aw, guys. Well, this has just been very wholesome. So I feel the same way. I feel just like the world is a great place. That just good overcomes bad. All of the good.
I just had a really bad day yesterday at work, and it's kind of carried over. Because I work in surgery, and we just had a really bad day,
Right.
And now I'm like, I feel better, like cleansed. I
was having a low ebb day, not really feeling in my energy, and I was even thinking this morning, I'm like, oh gosh, am I going to be able to hold a conversation? Will I even be articulate? You know, you kind of have those like great, perfect timing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this has just busted me wide open, and I feel like I could just. I'm like at coffee with you guys.
Yes.
So we'll be in Vancouver. We'll just hang out.
Well, when you guys joke, but yeah, whenever you are, please let me know because we can then meet up in my friend's podcast room studio, and we could actually do this in person. That would be fun.
No, but we actually do plan to come up. Like that wasn't a joke. Like
no, come up.
We just had Ange on for a discussion episode.
And I cried for 15 minutes. Woo!
Yes, we had therapy. We had therapy with Ange, and now we had therapy with Olivia, and now we're having therapy with Jess. I mean, we talked to Olivia for 4 hours.
Yeah, gosh, I just have no. So she told me, and I was like, "Shit, Liv, holy shit, that's a lifetime." And she's like, "Yeah, I have to say, I've got so many words about her and Candace, but Liv has come into my life like a supernova, and it's just been one of those women who, like, from day one, we like looked at each other and we just knew. I'm like, I can't actually be cool around you because I just feel so drawn to you and who you are as a person. We just dived into the deep end of love, and we both share the love language of just touch. So we're just always like hugging each other or touching each other's faces. We tried to do that with Ash. Kay and I tried to do that with Ash by licking her face, which I think is
one way to try it.
Yeah. Yeah. We just dove right into it. We were just like,
right.
We're gonna like own her,
all or nothing.
As you do. I lick
and
you. I
she
own
just
you.
like wheeled. She was like, I mean, as you would, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to like reenact like the Lion King or something. I was like, Nala licking her face.
I'm just
I don't know
picturing
what
this
she
now.
must have thought that she must have thought like, what the fuck is going
Mhm.
But
on?
was this the first day you met her?
But it was pretty much first second. I mean, we were not 48 hours into knowing each other.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So
But
not
then we did establish, like, because I think Tay, myself, and Ash, we do ground ourselves into like the work whenever we have to connect, because a 3-hander is really hard. It's like energy wise, it's like bam 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 bam, and you can always tell if there's just something not working in the scene, because you can actually feel it. You can, and you're like, oh, is it me? Am I dropping my cues? But what always worked for us, thanks to the brilliant Deb Dowski, my acting coach, she got us to hold hands. And it wasn't even about saying anything. It was, again, just about that connection, and looking into each other's eyes, real soft and open like, and then you're just grounding into that. And there was just always something that just swelled in such tenderness. And that was all we ever needed for any scene. And that was, I'm going to miss that so much, to just be able to have that shorthand that we earned with each other. Probably going to try whatever co-stars I go on to have next, encourage going, hi guys. So
I thought you were going to be like, lick their face. I'm
Lick
like,
their face?
is that just going to be
Like,
a thing now?
just dive right in.
Previous show, my co-stars and I used to have this love language.
We reenact the Lion King.
I do have to say, I hope you and Liv do something together in the future, because I feel like you guys are so similar. Just talking to her for the first time reminded me of talking to you for the first time. I'm like, they're so much similar, and I love talking to both of you.
We
I
are.
want like a buddy comedy.
Yes.
I think that would be fun.
Well, we're gonna be doing something for.
Oh.
Be doing something, but I think
Something.
we're gonna,
Something.
That's great.
we have a lot of work to do in our future, Liv and I.
Good.
Yes.
I love
We're
it.
excited.
Jess and
to see
Liv
it.
star in something.
Okay. Well, when you
The
do
Lion
this,
King.
you'll both have to come on the podcast and just talk. And I mean, we'll try not to keep you for 4 hours this time. I felt so bad.
Yeah.
Okay, but
okay,
Liv
Liv
kept
gave
us
us-
for 4 hours.
Yeah,
Let's
we
be
did
honest.
a tour of her Airbnb.
It was mutual.
a lot happening.
Oh, but in your defense, I can also see how 4 hours could just fly. Like already an hour and a half has just gone by. So, I mean, it just means that you guys are a pleasure to talk to.
Oh, that means a lot.
That is
it really
mutual.
does.
That's really huge, because we always want everyone to be comfortable here.
It's such an honor, like when people are like, "This was like the most comfortable I felt," and I'm like, "Yes, we did our job."
Who said that to us? Was that Emily?
Emily.
Yeah, it was Emily.
Emily said that to us. I
Gosh,
freaking love
that
Emily.
woman, she was that. I'm so glad that I was
her.
right next to her for the finale tweet. The woman was cackling over
Yes.
her cackle scene, and I couldn't. I was just like, well, I'm new to all, like live videoing, tweeting, and the Twitter space as well. Like all of these things that you can even do. So there I was, just pressing record while she was cackling. It just was so a great behind the scene moment. And then Luke trying to like mimic what he was his seed that he was singing in the show, and him like
Amazing.
I love my co-stars. They're some of the best people on the planet.
They are.
Did you get
so
to see
great.
the Lesbian Jesus card that we sent to?
No,
Because
let's
we
this guy.
okay, listen. From the very beginning of the podcast, Theora has had a thing about how Rael is Lesbian Jesus for a multitude of reasons. One being like the allegory of Jesus, the light, the golden light that follows her around.
Had her lying on like an Aslan,
Yes.
Exactly.
Literally, that was
And
glowing.
resur-
right?
The chosen
Yeah.
one,
The chosen one. Yeah.
the healing.
Oh, by the way,
Thank you.
Christian prayers.
I
So
think
that's why our tagline is "Hydrate for Lesbian Jesus."
Belizu Izina Yese Uvu. That's Hydrate for Lesbian Jesus.
That's what it is in
Mother
Ministry.
in ministry.
Really?
David and Jesse
Because
looked it up
Jesse
for
and
us.
David translated it for us.
Oh, that's
We
so
love
cool. That's so
We-
cool.
Yeah.
That will
I mean,
also be in our store.
Half of Motherland, mother tongue. That's what I've been wanting. I want to be able to translate. That's kind of actually, yeah. There's a cap that I wanted to write on Instagram just in mother tongue. Have that being transcribed would be really cool. Like that was, I feel like Elliot had a whole lot up more that he wanted to do like that. Like
Oh yeah.
from books to comics to apps. Yeah.
I hope we get that in the future.
Yeah. Why not? Right? Like the language is there, it's created. So
There's a whole dictionary they have.
Yeah.
It's already done.
He posts all the lines to archive of our own too, which I think is so cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So it's available.
In addition to the podcast that they did.
Yeah.
Or the
I have to my bladder is a
Oh yeah.
Oh my
Please
god,
go.
please tell us.
Please go.
My
Please
bladder
go.
size of a walnut. And I need to go again. But I wanted to say, is there one last question, one last sweet pea of a question that you have for me? So we can end this on me not going, I need to go pee.
We will cut
Fair
that out, don't
enough.
worry.
Caitlin, you pick
Kaitlyn,
one.
pick one.
Oh no!
Okay. Good.
What?
She was chanting your name.
Oh, okay. Oh man, shit. I don't know. How is Tally so adorable?
Maybe that's like the Jess factor.
Yeah.
I think it is.
I was about to say, how are you? Was so adorable, so.
There you go.
My entire life. This is why I said to Tracy, Wardrobe Tracy, why I'm very triggered by the word cute. And I was trying to, tell her that I want to be sophisticated, and that is not the same as cute. That is matured cuteness, maybe, but it's matured, and that's why the resistance to the unicorn / horse jersey. So I do think it's a Jess thing. I think the dimple doesn't help.
The dimple's adorable. I'm sorry, it doesn't. It's just.
Like I'm also like just forehead and like eyes. And then there's like a hole in my cheek. And I can't help but smile a lot because just generally so stoked to be alive.
Hey, being alive is an accomplishment sometimes.
I walk into every room and I'm just like, life is a trip. This is trip. And I can either cry or laugh right now, and I can do both. Like you, Kaitlyn. I'm just like wide open. I'm wide open. You're wearing life so close to the vest that you're just like.
You could say anything right now. It'd be a toss up between crying and laughing,
or crafting, both.
So not to blow my own horn there, but I think cuteness has been a compliment that I've been given by many people, but I have not taken as a compliment until recently. And I think it's come back to being I've embraced my dimple for one. It took me a minute there. I used to try and sit like this in school to just try. I have two and one went out because it's a skin deformity. Not many people know that. And it's just the skin that sticks to muscle. That's what a dimple is. So this one unstuck, and then I had just this one, and it just got like deeper and deeper and deeper.
It's overcompensating for the other one.
That it was like getting deeper, the more muscle, the more smile muscle that I got. That I just like, this is ridiculous. I'm not living my life not smiling, and I'm gonna just like embrace all my ness. And yeah, I'm so much better for it. Like, I guess that's what a joy is, getting into your earlier 20s, 30s. You're just going like, you're cutting yourself so much slack. You're able to just really own yourself in a very different way. And it's not like, fuck you, boom.
It's like authentic,
Yeah.
I am who I am.
And I think one of the things that have been, that are the most attractive to me, that turn me on the most about anyone that I see, is that self-possession. You know, I love that, because the person who has the power in themselves never has to announce it, never has to declare it, never has to say it. They just are it. And you know, people like Lynn, Demetria, Amanda Tapping, they just walk into a room and everyone's gets quiet, just because their level of self-respect and their level of respecting others, you know, it's just this beautiful aura they give out, and it's just contagious. So everyone just kind of gets silent on their by themselves and just look it really, oh, how do we get close to that? Lead us. You know? But I was always just saying, like, oh man, what I want to grow into is that ability to just, you know, back yourself, trust yourself, help yourself, know thyself. Good things. Good
real
quick,
into. I just want to tell you that I admire your respect for life and your time so much. Like, you really do value your time, and I've seen that through a couple of things. And I respect it so much, and I want to get to that point in life. I'm like, why can't I do stuff like that? Like, why can't I be like, no, I can't do that right now?
Oh, you will learn that discernment. It comes, I mean, I continuously gain it and then lose it. Like, I think it's a thing that we forget and then we remember and then we forget. And this is just being human. I don't think it's a thing that we actually ever arrive at and go, cool, this is a fixture. I think confidence is something you work on. I think charisma is something that you can practice. Like, it's just about understanding what it is and what traits really you want to cultivate in yourself.
You've told me that confidence is faked until it's earned.
Yeah, faked until it's earned.
It's so true.
Bye, Kaitlynn. Hi, Kaitlynn.
Hi.
And I'll never forget how incredible you were at the QFX. You know, you really struck me as a mutual compliment here. I say this, like, you know, you were running around trying to make all the transitions as smooth as possible. I was virtually attending this convention, which must have been chaos on every front. And, you know, I said this to your manager, but like I having just the insight of what it is to be on set with 400 people and everyone's trying to work towards one common goal. It is crazy what that is. It's a circus act. And no one is necessarily seeing the flurry and fluster.
Except the people watching me run around the entire building, but...
But you know what? It also shows how committed you are and how much you cared. And I think when you care, you let things under your skin, and it's a beautiful thing to do, is to let things under your skin. I said that in the last interview that I had, and it became apparent to me that I apologized a lot for that. I apologized for caring too much, for being so enthusiastic, for being so keen, being so like overly prepared, and you know, to a point, like sometimes my own detriment. Like, I get too precious about my art or too controlling about me working in a group, because I want everyone to bring their best, and I have an idea of what my best looks like compared to your best. So I become a little bit of a bully, and you know, I started to realize like who I am and why I do what I do, and what's helpful and what's hurtful, and just really getting a little bit more mindful every day as to what is more helpful. But energy respect and time respect is something Karina taught me, and I guess that ending on that note is perfect, because when I came to Karina, I didn't have boundaries. I really lacked discernment. I lacked self-trust as well, which in a crucial, crippling kind of way. Like, no one could have known that. But I would give my power away to people because I just didn't trust myself to make the decision for me. I would just be like, well, what do you think? And I would do it so easily, and it was so habitual. And I'm like, how do people change? If I've created these habits and I understand why I've created them. Okay, knowledge is power, but it only takes me to a certain point. Now, how do I invite a new way in? How can I invite a new way in of being? And then she's like, well, that's where the work is, and let me sit, set the classroom for you, and let me show you my work, and let's see if we can find a new way in. And yeah, I think that allowed me to see what I was lacking and go, oh, I can cultivate this. This is possible, So it's been really radical from that point of view. And you can find that help from in all kinds of ways. But for me, fundamentally, that came from Karina. Still does.
I know I say this a lot, but I love you, Jess, and you helped me so much more than you know. God damn it, I'm gonna cry again.
You got it, Kaitlynn.
You got this.
Yeah, so
I believe in you.
You've helped me a lot, and I just thank you.
I hope you're going to those acting classes too. Please, you know what I really say? Everyone should just enroll in the purpose of play, because there is something about what actors do, which is so, I mean, guys, we have like the greatest jobs in the world. I mean, part of it is terrifying, but the other part is really, really fun. And I think, yeah, you gain your courage when you step up and you go into, just stepping into somebody else's skin for a bit. And even if it's not to be an actor, just for the fun of it, it will stretch your humanity, and you'll meet some really interesting people as well. Like the people who come to acting classes are always, for me, I'm just going, this is going to be so much fun. Like bunch of misfits, right? And yeah. I don't know, like the acting class has always somehow been a safe space for me, because you can experiment and you can fall flat on your face, and that's the point, because you can just kind of spring up, go, okay, that didn't feel great, and everyone like kind of clap in like consolidation, like cool, participation counts. But yeah, there's no pressure really, because unless it's self-induced, and if you've got a crippling I also, self-pressure has been such a huge thing for me health-wise. Like I had to start going, I cannot be this hard on myself. I cannot. I'm gonna die young if I keep my stress levels at this like fight or flight mentality. I need to like learn to breathe, stimulate my vagus nerve, and get into my parasympathetic nervous system.
Exactly.
I have to bring my heart rate down.
I had a wellness coach that actually went through that with me, because that was her specialty, and it's so true. If you're a person that has anxiety or an anxiety disorder like I do, it's like, it all stems from the ADHD, but it's like you're always there, like. Yeah.
No, and you gotta parent yourself back into another. Mm-hmm. I think we'd write it off too easy. We're just a person who's highly strung, and therefore I will always be highly strung. But that's an agreement that you're like abiding to, and you can totally. My mom has always said you can always change. It's really a question of courage, and I think a lot of people feel more comfortable in a certainty and in a crystallization than they are in going, okay, what does evolution in me look like? So, ending on that note.
Yeah, yes. I was about to say, I could talk to you forever about this, but we gotta.
The folder Discord awaits, and I just appreciate so much of your time and your thoughtful questions and your beautiful presence, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you again.
Thank you for being here, and please go to the bathroom.
Yes, please.
Walnut out.
And with that, we've been Big Gay Energy. If you like this episode, check out all of our other episodes right here on YouTube. Please like, leave a comment below, and subscribe for more amazing and super gay content.
Until next time, stay safe and hydrate for Lesbian Jesus.